So, you think about so it's frustrating when your dog doesn't listen to you, right? And you're like, "Why? You used to know this command," and especially as dogs get older too, this can happen. And you're like, you know how to sit," but they're like, "I don't wanna sit." As long as you rule out pain and osteoarthritis, of course, but it could actually be a gut problem. And the reason for that is that we have this gut-brain axis, and it's connected with what's called the vagus nerve. This is the longest, probably one of the most important nerves in the body. And there's this direct bi-directional communication happening from the gut all the way up to the brain, and the brain is communicating all the way back down to the gut. And what can happen is all those microbes that I talked about with the microbiome, we should have a lot of diversity, so different types of microbes. We should also not have an overgrowth of pathogenic or bad bacteria. So things like Clostridium or E. coli can be common, especially in pets dealing with chronic health issues. So if we have those, what can happen is that ecosystem's not happy, it's not healthy, and it's creating inflammation in your pet's gut lining. And then what happens is that we know the immune system's closely connected. So we have what are called tight junctions in our gut, should be held nice and tight together. When we get inflammation, they start separating and spreading because they swell. This is then going to allow food, bacteria, and toxins to pass through. Well, what's sitting on the other side of the gut cells is the immune system and the bloodstream, and also the nervous system is connecting downwards too. And so, if we have lots of inflammation, the body's going to be irritated and aggravated and overreact. And then that's where we see symptoms occur elsewhere in the body. So we get these signals that are sent along that vagus nerve all the way up to the brain. And this is where we call it like brain on fire. And our dogs are like, I can't listen to you because I'm like feeling crazy inside. I've got inflammation in my brain. I can't focus on something. I feel really unsettled. You can see more reactivity. So dogs that are noise reactive, and you're like, they used to be okay with thunderstorms, now they're not. Or they're jumpy. Like you're like, you move and you're like, why is Fifi so jumpy all of a sudden, right? And it's because we actually have a gut problem, and now it's communicating with the brain, of course, and it's affecting that. And so we're seeing it as a behavior problem. Now, I'm not against drugs, right? There is a time and a place for Prozac and things like that if we need it for quality of life. However, if we haven't addressed the underlying reasons for why those behavior issues can occur, then we're essentially just drugging our pets for no reason. And there is a reason. We have to ask, why is this behavior occurring? And we have to look at the gut. Yes, it might be normal. It could be something else. There's a lot of reasons for behavior problems, but we have to look to the gut because it usually is number one, and it's usually off balance. And when we address it and we get it back into balance, we reduce inflammation, we heal that gut lining, and we support the microbiome. That's when our pets all of a sudden become a happy, healthy, balanced dog again.
It's just so fascinating to me. I could talk about it all day. So then what are the primary factors that contribute to gut health problems in dogs?
So, this is where it can be frustrating because we do unfortunately live in a toxic world. So, there's a lot of different factors. Now, pet food is medicine, and it is the foundation for health. Hippocrates, thousands of years ago, did have it correct. And this is where, unfortunately, a lot of dogs are on processed food diets. So when we talk about processed food, this is where we're talking about kibble. And as you mentioned in the beginning, so many pet parents are going back and forth between different kibbles. They're like buying all sorts of, the most expensive kibble. I hear that all the time with my clients. And we're still feeding processed food. Now, the pet food industry is not a really fun one to go into that rabbit hole and learn about how pet food is made, but it's really important if we want to truly optimize our dog's health and especially gut health, because a lot of times the companies who are making those foods, not everyone, and this is why it's really important to be here and learning and educating yourself so that we can do the best for our dogs. But what's really important is to understand what types of foods, what do those ingredient lists mean? And are there chemicals or other products that might be in this food that could be contributing to inflammation in my pet's gut. And a big cause of this is what we call glyphosate. There's actually a talk in the Dog Gut Summit about glyphosate and the impact it has on the microbiome. But this is things, so Roundup is glyphosate. It's a commonly used herbicide pesticide that's used all around the world for agriculture. It's sprayed on GMO crops. And unfortunately, the majority of kibble diets have a lot of glyphosate in them because of the agricultural ways that they make the food. And then they use that type of food for dog food. And what happens is